Hey everybody, welcome back to another news roundup. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Fairly late news roundup, so apologies for that. As I illustrated in the last video, my mom fell sick and just been taking care of her for a couple of days. She's better now, and we'll hopefully get back into the swing of things. We'll see. Just life is life. Just been busy also doing stuff, but yeah. But we have a news roundup for today. So little bits of news here and there. I originally was not going to do one, but I figured, we have some news, so might as well just, have some kind of consistency with the news. So we got some news. So let's just get into it. So let's just cut this short and just dive right on in. So, of course, the big news for this week was, of course, the release of Captain America Brave New World. I didn't check it out. I just didn't really care to see it. But we have the box office now with President's Day passing and, the whole weekend wrapping up. I figured now we could just do a box office report just to discuss where things are and where things are potentially going for the film. So, currently, as it stands, the film has collected, according to Wikipedia, collected at least $198.3 million. So roughly a $200 million opening. Now, budget-wise, we're looking at a film that carries $180 million. And we have no word of the marketing campaign, but we do know that Marvel spent some money on it. So I don't know. I've seen some figures, but I'm guessing probably the standard 100 million that they usually do for their marketing campaigns. So if you factor that in, you're potentially looking at a cost overall as an investment, $280 million. So roughly almost a $300 million investment. So yeah, and reviews have not been the greatest. Just looking here real quick at some of the reviews. IMDb has it at 6.1 out of 10, Metacritic 42 out of 100. And Rotten Tomatoes, which, I mean, just bring it up, 49% critic rating, 80% audience score. And also, I've just read somewhere that its cinema score, which is basically the more accurate of the audience ratings, it had a B minus, which is considered the worst score given to any of the Marvel films in the MCU. So yeah, reception is not strong right now, and the reason why we bring that up is because it factors into how this might perform on its second weekend. And in my view, based on all of the reception that I've just laid out to you, and generally speaking, just from what I've been hearing, I've not been hearing great things about the film. I am guessing that this is going to have a bit of a drop off on its second weekend. Guessing close to maybe 50, maybe even 60%. And given that, and just how it's opening right now, I don't think we can call this a success story. I really don't. I've heard some people say that this should hit like 500 million, 600 million to be considered a success for Marvel, potentially. But I think that, again, when you consider marketing efforts, which they have not disclosed, it probably has to do a lot more. So maybe even more like 700 million, if we're being frank. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's barely going to make like maybe even 500. That's my guess. Like it's going to squeak right into 500 million. But yeah, so I don't think you're going to get another Captain America film, at least not for a while. So yeah, man, it's just how it is now with Marvel. There's people will bring up Deadpool Wolverine, but Deadpool Wolverine was an isolated incident. We're talking about characters that people already know about and actors that people like in those roles. So that's a different scenario where you're now bringing in a brand new face to play Captain America, and different setting, different direction, and people were just not welcome to that direction. So So yeah, I mean it's par for the course of Marvel just recently, just trying out all these things and, or at least like doing the reverse of what people wanted, and it's not working out for them. So yeah, I don't think that this is a success story. Some people may think it's a success story because of just how big it opened, but again, the measure of success is by the investment that was made. So if we are to believe that it's $100 million for marketing, this is closer to a $300 million investment, and opening to roughly $200 million. And when you take into my factoring of how I consider, how much movies need to make, um, if we're just literally gonna do it, I'll just do it right now, just to pull up a calculator real quick. So if it is a $280 million investment, times that by three, the film has to do $840 million. Now, if you guys want to just do the 2.5 ratio, which I don't necessarily agree with, it has to do $700 million. So yeah, that's where it needs to hit in order to be considered a success. Around $700 to $900 million. I really doubt that that's going to be the case. I think you're going to see a big drop off. Like I said, 50 to 60%. I think is going to be it's a hit, because I just don't think people are really caring. I've not heard really much of anything since it came out. It just kind of came and went, sort of thing. People are not so high on it that they want to go see it again. Um, so yeah, so yeah, it's just a dark age for Marvel. It's just they're not the juggernauts as they used to be, and we've illustrated many times why that's the case. And this is just another example of that, unfortunately. So, alrighty, we have more news regarding the legal battle with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. Something that is just becoming a segment on this channel. We just watched this whole drama unfold. There's a new development that happened today, actually, which I guess I'll just mention here, just because it kind of coincides with everything else that we're gonna talk about. Just put it all together. Why not? Um, so just to start from the news that happened this week or this past week. So Blake Lively's team is now actively trying to do some things. They're now asking for obtainment of phone records from Baldoni's case. Talking to people like AT&T, Verizon, looking to get some phone records, some messages and stuff like that. Lively is suing her It Ends With Us director and co-star, alleging that he and his publicists and operatives trashed her online in retaliation for her complaints of sexual harassment on set, which we've discussed plenty of times on this channel, and there's not a lot of evidence to support that claim. At least it seems. And I wonder where that comes from. Um, Lively's lawyers already have voluminous text messages. It's a weird phrase, voluminous. From the phone of Jennifer Abel, one of Baldoni's publicists, which that's interesting. Don't know how they obtain that information. That seems, I don't know. Jennifer Abel. If it's one of Baldoni's publicists, I know she's also I know she is involved as well in the lawsuit. So that's interesting. Um, Wondering how they obtain those messages. But those messages include discussions of trying to, quote, bury and destroy Lively, but may not tell the full story of how such an effort could have been carried out. Lively's attorneys sent subpoenas to three phone companies, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, seeking records pertaining to Baldoni, producer Jamie Heath, and billionaire Wayfair Studios co-founder Steve Sarowitz. I butchered the hell out of that name. Subpoenas also seek the phone records of Abel and publicists Melissa and Nathan. It's weird. Seek the phone records of Abel. Yet they already
have text messages from the phone of Jennifer Abel, but they just now are sending a subpoena. I read that correctly, right? The subpoenas were sent out, but they already have this from her. Yeah, it seems a little suspect. So, seems a little weird.
And I guess Baldoni's team, as far as I read, are kind of pushing back on that. I'm not entirely sure why that's the case. Maybe there's some discrepancies there. Maybe they're concerned about Lively's team exploiting messages or taking them out of context, which we know that's the case because we've seen her lawsuit. Her lawsuit has edited messages and other things. So not completely out of the completely out of the question. If that's the case for Badoni's hesitance to give phone records, but that's what she's doing there. And also, while this is going on, she is also now dealing with another lawsuit. This time from a PR firm. Jed Wallace was his name. He was mentioned in Blake Lively's lawsuit to be helping in creating the the alleged smear campaign against her. And Jed Wallace is now pushing back on that. I guess originally she was going to press, I think, something of a complaint towards him directly at some courthouse in Texas or something. I forget the full thing. I might have completely uh, mis. I might have completely just exaggerated that, but I think that was what happened. But then Jed Wallace ultimately himself has now filed a complaint and filed a lawsuit against Blake Lively for defamation and a bunch of other things. Now, for the news that's happening here today, the fresh stuff that has just happened, Blake Lively had put out an amended her complaint against Justin Baldoni, I believe, as we pull it up here actually, and she has now mentioned two actors from the film It Ends With Us that were, quote, uncomfortable, and that they will apparently be testifying in court or willing to testify at trial. So just to read here real quick from Variety. The 141-page document claims that, quote, Miss Lively was not alone in complaining about Mr. Baldoni and raised her concerns contrapronously, don't know what, sorry, as they arose in 2023. Importantly, and contrary to the entire narrative defendants have invented, Mr. Baldoni acknowledged the complaints in writing at the time. He knew that women other than Miss Lively also were uncomfortable and had complained about his behavior. Though the women are not named, which is regular for Miss Lively's presentation of evidence, the complaint says that they have, quote, given Miss Lively permission to share the substance of their communications, and they will testify and produce responsive documents in the discovery process. Again, this is not evidence. Like, you need to, okay, because okay, so now there's a bunch of other, this is the first time I just read that fully. Um, okay, so, I mean, there's things here that you still have to authenticate, who are these people? Why aren't they filing suit? There's still a bunch of questions that are left up in the air. Just saying that there are two people and not giving them, like, a whole year, mind you, and they won't provide any, like, especially with this public stuff that's happening here with Baldoni. I think the reason why she's not mentioning them by name is because she knows for a fact that Baldoni probably has dirt on, like, he could probably bring up something, so that's probably why she's being very careful of not mentioning the names, because Baldoni will probably just, or at least his attorney will just release um messages that debunk those claims and make her witnesses you know uh, less authentic or less credible. So that's the only thing that makes sense to me. But again, another example of just saying stuff and not providing evidence, not providing any context to her claims. Just, oh, there's two actresses. It's like, okay, well, who are these people? And if these people, as you've mentioned in your complaint, are, quote, giving you permission to share the substance of their communications and are willing to testify and produce responsive documents, I don't understand then why, like, I don't understand then why that you can't mention them by name. If they're gonna show up in court, like, you might as well just put their names out. Like, why not? Why not? Especially if they are so confident in how they feel. Like, why are you not willing to tell us? Especially if they worked on set. I mean, you're opening yourself up to, these people specifically are going to open themselves up to a lot of questioning that, that Baldoni's attorneys are probably going to want. So, yeah, again, it's just another example of that where I'm going to say shit, but I'm not going to tell you the context of it. It's just a bunch of empty claims. Empty claims, which is regular for Blake Lively. So, but we'll see how this plays out. But maybe she's holding something. Maybe, in my view, she's not. I think she's just presenting the idea that she's holding stuff, but really she's just, stalling, and ultimately when we get to trial, it's just going to blow up in her face. So, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe something big is being held for trial. We'll see. But as I said before, Baldoni is laying all his cards out on the table, and we're seeing them, and we see that he's not lying. A lot of the stuff that's out there that's alleged, he's willing to show you that, hey, here's some proof to the claims that I am making, and less so of what Blake Lively is saying, disputing what she's saying. That's been happening. In Blake Lively's case, it's just tiptoeing around. It's not acknowledging the subjects. It's just, just hiding in the shadows, basically. Of course, she'll show up for an SNL, freaking anniversary show, but she won't comment on this. So, yeah. Or make, direct, claims about, giving us substantial things to see that her lawsuit is credible. She doesn't, because I don't think she has much of anything, and I think she herself knows that, and she's hoping that with these actresses and with these phone records, she's hoping that there will be something there. And as far as I can tell, based on how she's presenting her case, there just doesn't seem to be much of anything. But like I said, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe something big will come out. But right now, she's not convincing me. She really hasn't. So, alrighty. In other news, speaking of just insubstantial news related to Blake Lively's case, insubstantial news, we're getting a sequel to Goonies. Because, yeah, we don't have a director attached to it at this moment. No plot details. There's nothing written right now. So what's his name? Patsy Pankirali, according to Deadline, is coming on board to pen the script. Yeah. So the original film obviously had some faces such as Josh Brolin, Ki Ho Kwan, who probably are going to make appearances in the film. So, yeah. So we're getting a Goonies 2. I know that was kind of a conversation for a hot minute a few years ago. Some people may have... It really feels like something that should have came out a few years ago. If we're talking about just general interest, I feel like a Goonies 2 was probably maybe freaking 10 years ago. This really doesn't seem like much of anything for me personally. And I vaguely remember the original. I don't remember who directed it. Was it Richard Donner or was it Joe Dante? I feel like it was one of those two. I know Spielberg wasn't a director. I know he is. His production company was involved, which, according to this article, I guess they're also returning as returning. His production company, Album Emblem Entertainment, is back. So, but yeah, I don't see the point of revisiting the series or revisiting the Goonies. I just don't see any point for it. Seems like nostalgia bait. So I just don't think there's much of an audience really for Goonies at this point. So yeah, so I don't really care. I know some people might be happy just because they've been holding on to that like childhood memory of watching the original or whatever. But it doesn't really do much for me. I liked the original. I remember liking the original, but I just don't. It wasn't one of those movies that I like remember about. I just remember like one weird scene of like a kid being interrogated by the adults or something like that. I forgot, but yeah, not for me. Not really for me. And I doubt it's really going to be a lot for a lot of people, especially with this new generation of kids. I just doubt that they're really going to be coming to see this. So yeah, so too little, too late, if you ask me, in regards to this announcement. So, alrighty, we have one trailer to discuss for today. I would have talked about the How to Train Your Dragon trailer, but honestly, I don't have many thoughts on it. It just seems like more of the same to me. So we're not really going to touch on that. So yeah. So also probably don't watch the trailer if you haven't, if you don't want to be spoiled on anything, because it basically spoils the whole fucking movie. But yeah, so we're not going to talk about that because I've already basically have talked about it. So, but instead, we are going to talk about this trailer because I have not talked about this movie. This film is called Friendship. This stars Paul Rudd, Tim Robinson, and Kate Mara. This is being written and directed by Andrew DeYoung, who is in his feature debut. And this has a release date for May 9th, 2025. So the premise of this film is that Tim Robinson is kind of a socially awkward type of guy, and he needs to get out, he needs to socialize. And Paul Rudd is his neighbor, a new neighbor who just moved in. And the two try to strike up a bond. And as the trailer goes on, there appears to be something more sinister underneath that may or may not make this friendship seem authentic, or maybe it was just fabricated. Maybe it was just all an illusion. Who knows? So I honestly think this looks really interesting because I think the tonal shift, or just by the kind of the like it kind of degrades. It kind of like starts to descend, I guess is a better word, into something more sinister, and I really like that. I really like the idea that there is more at play. It's not just, it's one thing, for the film to be this tender portrayal about how someone can, find genuine friendships and, long-lasting friendships. I mean, for that angle, that wouldn't have been wrong, and I honestly would have been on just for that alone, because I think that it works well in that respect. But to see that there is this extra layer, the psychological layer, to where it might be that there is something more at play, with Tim Robinson's character, and it's something a lot more concerning. I think that makes for something really interesting, and I'm very, very curious to check it out. It really won me over. I honestly would have skipped out on watching the trailer, and I kind of did for a couple of days, because I just saw it and I was like, saw the Paul Rudd's face, and honestly, I just made this assumption. I was like, it's probably going to be one of those types of comedies. It's like, he's got another film with A24, Death of a Unicorn, which I think we talked about, and I just was like, eh. So I don't know. But I just watched it randomly when I was hanging out with my brother, and I was like, hey, shit, that looks pretty good, actually. That actually looks like it has a lot more substance than I originally thought. So, So yeah, so I'm definitely gonna check this out. It comes out on May 9th. So yeah, definitely interested in this one. Looks very, very interesting. Very interesting. So we'll see how that works. Hopefully what I'm thinking is how it is, and hopefully it's done because by the trailer, how it's designed, how it appears to be attacking its subject, I think it's doing it in very interesting ways. I think it's done in very informative ways as well. So, so yeah, very interested to see how this plays out. But yeah, those are my thoughts for this week, guys. Little bite-sized, little small segment. So you guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section below in regards to your feelings on Captain America. If you guys saw the film, how you guys feel there in regards to also how it's financially performing, your thoughts on the whole It Ends With Us drama, the Goonies 2 happening, and if you saw that trailer for that film, Friendship. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.